Do a grand entry.
Okay, and we're live. Thanks for coming, guys, and want to give a big shout out and thank you to Austin Kietner, Master Lead Generator, and he's here because he wants to share some of his knowledge with you, mostly about door knocking. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. You guys know that's close to my heart because I'm such a big door knocker, and I'm here to learn as much as I can from Austin as well, who in his short tenure in the business has done pretty darn awesome.
Thanks.
So let's hear about it.
All right. Well, what are you guys hoping to get out of the session first of all? And are we able to find out if anyone's actually watching Facebook Live, if they can chime in on stuff that they want to learn about? I don't know if anyone can see that. If not, let's start with the people who are here.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you guys want to know when it comes to this specific topic?
What works and what does not?
That's a really good point because there's no point in doing the things that don't work.
Yeah.
If there's a specific script that you follow.
Some scripts, okay.
What do you do for follow-up?
Follow-up process.
The areas that you target.
Choosing area.
Are you going empty-handed or do you have supplies in the time?
Collateral, we'll call it. Good stuff. Good topics.
Good start.
Yeah.
What do you tell sellers when they say, where am I going to go?
Well, I'm going to get out.
So that's part of scripts.
That's part of scripts? Okay.
Any others that you guys want to focus on for scripts?
On average, how long does it take to turn a door lock into a listing a deal? Or
Okay. Turnover, I guess. Call it.
Conversion.
Conversion, better word. Conversion timeline. They don't pay me for my penmanship.
What do you do when they talk too much?
Ooh, okay.
Escapes.
I got it right.
Escapes, yeah, good word.
Maybe we don't want this done.
Yeah. No, that's a good point though, because there's a lot of time sucks out there, and we want to strategize how to not let, because we are in control. It's one of the themes that we'll discuss with all of this stuff. We have 100% control, or if we think that way, at least we'll be able to manipulate situations to our advantage more often. Not let excuses get in the way. I'm actually going to start the same way Gary Keller starts most of his, or the ones that I've read at least, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent with the myth understandings and the one thing with the lies. So there are also some myths and some lies when it comes to prospecting or gearing up to prospect. And there's a lot of things that get in our head that are just obstacles in us being able to perform. And there's entire 8-week courses that Keller Williams offers. One of them is called Bold. And they focus a lot on mindset, but we'll talk about that specifically to door knocking. What are some of the things that go through our head before or during a session, banging doors and pounding the pavement? What is? Okay, temperature, weather. Okay, we're going to come back to this. We'll call them obstacles in our head, because that's the only place. It's not that some of these things aren't true. It is hot outside. People are sometimes rude unnecessarily. Sometimes other agents have knocked on doors in that same area. Okay, these things are real things that happen, but it's what goes on in our head that matters on how we can overcome them. So once you overcome these obstacles in your head enough times, you don't even think about them anymore. So you're empowered. You're actually better than your competitor because you're not worrying about the things that they're worrying about, because when you're spending time thinking about those things, you're not focusing on who the next person that you're going to talk to is going to do a deal with you. When I'm going to doors, all I'm thinking about is this my next deal? This could be my next deal. This could be my next listing. I'm not thinking, nobody's home. Or what are some other things that come across our head when we're actually out there?
They're too busy. They don't want to talk to you.
I'm interrupting them, yeah. Yeah, we don't want to interrupt people. So, some of the things mentioned, weather, other agents have been there. Rejection. Some other good ones were said. Caroline?
Talk too much.
Too busy.
Yeah.
They're too busy.
Oh, yeah. So there's things we can do about all these things. First of all, the weather. What can we do about that?
Something.
Dress for it, yeah. When it's cold out, we wear more clothes. And when it's really hot out, we wear no clothes. Or it's optional at least. Okay, so we can control what we do when the weather is what the weather is. Because the weather is always going to be the weather. And sometimes it's nicer than others. But if you're being motivated, if your day's being dictated by the weather, then you're already set up for failure. Because most days aren't ideal for door knocking. What is the ideal weather? Like 15 degrees and sunny? How many days of the year is that? So if you're only going out those days, then just do the math. How many leads can you generate on those 10 days a year versus if you go out for 250 days a year? Just a mathematical equation. So other agents, how do we overcome that one? Somebody's already been there. Somebody's been harassing these people before you. And now you're the next person to harass them. You shouldn't be thinking that way. I'm just using that to kind of shock your system a little bit. You're not actually harassing people. That comes down to what Caroline said. But what can we do to overcome the obstacle in our own minds that other people have been there before us?
Maybe they don't like that other person.
Yeah, maybe they don't like that agent. That agent sucked. What else?
Different day, different mood, different mentality.
Yeah, maybe their real estate plans have changed since the month before when that last person came by. You see another agent's cards in the doors. You know that they were there recently. There's a good chance a lot of the people that you're going to talk to weren't even home when that agent came by. They didn't even have a conversation. Maybe they just did that one street, and then like no one in this room, but like most other agents, gave up on the area or just stopped knocking. They only talked to a handful of households, and you just happened to be there the next day. So there's all these reasons why that doesn't actually matter. So anyway, I know this because I've had to overcome myself. For 2 years, I was out knocking doors, selling water heaters door to door, with people that didn't read positive things about that industry in the news, with people who had real estate's great because it's got a lot of credibility around it, much more so than that industry did. But in that industry, you didn't need a license. You just had to have minimal amounts of criminal record background. So, if that guy's going before you, it's a little bit harder. So we learned to overcome these things because we had to go out and perform every single day, 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year, for 2 years. And I realized that if I wanted to perform every day, I couldn't focus on these things. Excuse me. And I still can't. And I'm just used to not focusing on those things. I'm focusing on if this person's going to be the next deal. Rejection. So who are we talking to in this room? Are we been in the business for a while? Anybody here new agent? New agent within a year or so?
Like
or less?
a week.
Oh, a week. Welcome. Congratulations. And
Couple months.
couple months, yeah. So some of us have been doing this more than a year? More than 5, 10, 15, okay. So rejection, yeah, that's what you signed up for. They didn't tell you that at real estate school, but it's part of the deal. So yeah, for every deal you do, there's probably going to be 4 that should have been deals, but at different points in the transaction they bailed or they went with a different agent on the listing or whatever the deal is. To get those 4, 3 of which are going to fall through and nothing's going to happen, you probably had to meet with a certain amount of people depending on your conversion ratios. And before that, you had to get a certain amount of yeses at the door. And for every yes at the door, you probably got at least 19 no's. Because in the areas that we're operating in, there's about a 5% turnover every year. So we know that every year, about 1 out of 20 people is going to sell their house in the communities that we work in. So I know going into the day that I'm going to talk to 19 people who aren't moving this year within the next 12 months. So who cares? I'm not getting paid to talk to those people. I'm getting paid to talk to the one who is looking to move this year. So why would I spend any energy or any mental energy focusing on the ones who aren't looking to move? It doesn't even matter to my life. It's whatever's going on there is that it just doesn't make sense to move. How many people in here are moving this year? Yeah, exactly. Nobody's getting upset about you about it. So why would you be upset when you're going to their door and they're not looking to move either? So anyway, rejection. Yeah, it's also how you think about it. I don't think about it as rejection. They're just not looking to move, or maybe they've got a family member who's an agent. And they're just going to work with them. If you're looking for 20% market share in your community, then that means of the 1 out of 20 that's going to move this year, you're only actually expecting to do a transaction with 1 out of 5 of those. So you're only really actually looking for 1 out of 100. to do business with. That's how the math will work out. And that's 20% market share, which is a good number. Because in our communities, if there's 5% turnover and there's 200 listings sold, give or take, that's like 40, is that my math right? 40, yeah. 40 listings sold in a year. And usually if you sell 40 listings in a year, you're probably also helping about 40 buyers too. Those people usually have to buy something, or you find the buyer for that property, or you just generate a buyer from the open house, or whatever the deal is, right? That's usually how the math works out. So 1 out of 100 people you're going to talk to is going to actually transact with you if you're getting 20% market share. Everyone follow that math? If not, it's recorded. You can watch it over and over again. So the rejection really shouldn't get to you when you look at it that way. That's just not the person who's going to be one of the 100 people that you talk to. Big deal. They're too busy and you're interrupting them. That can get in our head sometimes. So what can we do in terms of our thought process to overcome that?
Leave that up to them. So what?
Yeah.
If you're interrupting them, they'll tell you. If you're not, they'll talk to you.
If you're interrupting them, they probably won't answer the door.
I was gonna say, if they're that busy, they won't answer the door.
And if they're in a rush, guess what? All of a sudden, I'm in a rush too. So let's just role play that. I knock on your door and you're in a rush.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. Knock, knock, knock.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. What's up?
Oh, I'm just coming by quickly. No, let's do it so that you're actually more rushed. You're like actually a little bit pissed too.
What do you
What
want?
do you want?
Oh, just coming by quickly, so I'm already backing
Look, I'm
off.
making dinner.
Okay, great. I won't bug you then.
Okay,
Here's
I
my.
don't have any time for this.
Okay, have a good one. I'm out of there. Why am I going to get into it with that guy? Okay, let's do one where you're like in a rush, but you'll actually like not kick me off your doorstep. Oh, hey. Oh, hey. How are you?
I'm just heading out. What is it that you're here for?
Oh, okay, just quickly. I'm just one of the real estate agents in the area. I'm just coming by quickly to check in on your real estate plans this year. And see my body language. I'm already backing off. I'm just getting in the words that are required, and I'm already backing off to respect with my body language and my anatomy that I'm not going to waste any time of hers.
I'm just heading out. I got my kids. We're not planning on moving. Thanks.
No real estate plans. If you need anything, give me a call. Out of there. No big deal. That's one of the hundreds of people that, or one of the 20 that, or one of the 19, I should say, that aren't selling this year. And if they are selling this year, they just didn't have time to talk to me about it at that particular moment in time. And then I would miss that opportunity potentially. But I'm only looking for 1 out of those 5 who are actually looking to do something. I'm confusing myself now with the numbers.
If somebody's in a rush, at one point, do you give them your card?
Yeah. I mean, if I don't have time to draw, then no. But typically I do, and I work that into my pitch, and we'll go over the pitch in a second, because we want to talk about some scripts too.
How often would you go back and do the same thing?
Well, we're going through our areas now, like every day. So we would go back over it. You just would have a different script. So we spend the first 3-4 months of the year just asking people what their real estate plans are this year. And now we're shifting over because we're starting to do a bunch of events in the communities or part of the community events, and we're just sponsoring it in some way. So now we're going and inviting them to that. So it's changing up. Now we're not asking them, hey, are you looking to sell your house? Hey, are you looking to sell your house? Hey, are you looking to sell your house? Now we're like, hey, listen, I know you weren't interested in selling, or hey, I know you're looking to, or we didn't get them when they were at home last time, and we just invite them to an event. So hey, listen, we're at this, we're doing a car wash at Franklin Horner Community Center. We were wondering if you are going to be around next Saturday to help support the community. And then they'll be like, yes or no, and then it's an opportunity to capture their email address. Okay, great, I'll send you the details. What's the best email? And I'm already ready to go. I'm assuming that they're going to give it to me. And that's an important part of all these scripts, is that you're going to assume that they're going to give you what you want. And in my case, for that script, it's just to get their email address so that we can send that. We then send them monthly sales in the neighborhood once a month. Everybody's loving that. We send them an electronic copy of our newsletter, and we don't spam them with anything else. But if there's other events in their community that they should participate in, then we send the invitations to those as well. So it's just stuff of value, and it's all very community focused. So I'm looking for the email address. I'm assuming that they're going to give it to me. I pull out my phone. So I'll send the details. What's the best email address? And then they give me the email address. Or not, and then I go for it again by adding more value than asking again. So if they say no, I'd be like, listen, no, I'm not going to spam you or anything like that. This is just to send you the details of this. And if you'd like, we can also send you monthly sales in the neighborhood so you know what houses are selling for. Yeah, and then they might give it to me and they might not.
Do you have any issues with sending people sales in the neighborhood?
Not yet. Why?
Well,
Are you setting sale prices or just?
Yeah, sale prices. Yeah.
Yeah, Rico's coming down on it.
Oh, they don't like that?
You can't do it. Unless you have a separate permission form from both the buyer and the seller, then you can do it. You can't even include it in your APS.
Okay, let's pause and edit the recording, please. Yeah, okay, that's a good point. So if it's against the rules, then we're gonna stop doing it.
But you can always
But-
change it and say listed, sold for 115%, sold for 92%,
Yes.
so you can still do it.
Yeah, so we would look for another way to add value to.
Or you can just put a range in, the
Yeah.
3-bedroom homes in your neighborhood are sold for
Right.
this range.
That's right.
2 bedrooms for this range, or
Yeah.
townhouses for this range.
Wasn't Rico talking about actually making all sales data available to everybody? Because they do that in the States, right?
Was the whole
Yeah.
competition bureau
Yeah,
thing.
Alright.
Don't know how we're going.
Topic for another course.
What's the difference between a CMA and doing something with these ones?
CMA, they're your client.
Right.
That's the purpose.
Well, they do CMA for people who are not necessarily yet your client.
It's a gray area.
It really is.
Yeah, it's totally like, so if they say to you, okay, yes, I am going to sell, then you can send them the sales?
Yeah, because we only do it for people who, traditionally, because we were going around for the first 4 months asking people what their real estate plans were, and if they had real estate plans, we were putting them on an 8x8 and a 33 touch and whatnot, and part of that was sending them the sales data, so technically they would be people who are thinking about selling, so to keep up to date. But so anyway, gray areas, like Gary Keller says in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, are what differentiates some of the top performers. Like he used the analogy in baseball when the first pitcher, and I forget his name, but threw a curveball, and nobody had done that before, and there wasn't a rule against that, but you weren't technically allowed to do it, right? Anyway,
Onwards.
back to what we're talking about.
Onwards.
Topic of conversation is prospecting and getting our head in the game, because these obstacles can get in the way, first of all, of actually going out. They can get in the way of, if you're not thinking about the right thing when you're out in the moment and talking to people, they're going to sense that. We're just animals, and we can sense when somebody is unconfident in what they're talking about, if they're unsure of what they're talking about. You guys know it because you encounter salespeople as civilians, and you can tell, you don't know why necessarily, but you just know that you're not interested in having a conversation with that person. They either seem needy, or they're focusing on themselves and why they're so great and everything like that, and you can tell it's a sales pitch, and you're not very interested. As opposed to if you're just genuinely interested in what their real estate plans are, and you can speak to that and allow them to speak to it, then you're in a good position to build some rapport very quickly. So we'll talk a bit about that with some scripts, okay? Any comments or any questions about kind of overcoming these things? That's where it all starts. So let's talk about scripts now. What are some stuff you guys use?
Would you like to know what the house on the street just sold for?
Okay.
Just sold.
So how does that work for you?
Not bad.
Okay.
Usually it's a yes,
Okay.
but then my thinking is I want to convert that interest into emails and numbers.
Okay. So what's the goal? You're asking that question, and then you're hoping that they start to get into a
Yeah.
conversation about real estate.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they're,
Okay.
yeah, without asking them, yeah, that's my intro, to get them talking about their real estate needs.
Okay. I'm gonna what I use that works really well is just asking them what their real estate plans are.
Yeah.
Getting right to the point on that. So I do a quick introduction. Hi, I'm just looking for the homeowner. I just want to know that I'm talking to the right person, first of all. Sometimes it's the cleaning lady who answers the door or something like that, and then I'm giving a pitch and asking, what their real estate plans are with this house, and I'm not even talking to the right person. But
She might be looking into it.
yeah, that's true, and that's a good point, because after I find out she's not, I'll ask if she knows what the homeowner's real estate plans are, and then I'll ask, by the way, what are your real estate plans? Because yeah, they might whoever's there might have some real estate plans. One of the best parts about our industry is that everybody has to live somewhere. So anyone you talk to, and if you've read Fanatical Prospecting, which some people in our mastermind have been, then he talks about prospecting at all times, anywhere you are. If it's appropriate, you talk about, what people's real estate plans are. if I'm at daycare or something, I might ask the person whose kids are there, if we start talking about our careers and stuff like that, I might ask, by the way, what are your real estate plans? I'm just so used to asking it. And it all starts at the door because you have the opportunity. I mean, door knocking is amazing because you're forced to develop the skill in terms of how you ask certain questions and how you dig in for information about people's real estate plans. You know, because always the follow-up to that initial question, what your real estate plans are. If they're like, oh yeah, we're kind of thinking of stuff, then there's another couple logical questions you can ask, like, okay, great, where are you thinking of going? Because people aren't excited about the process of selling the house. That's the part that is actually probably deterring a lot of them from doing something. It's the process of, or the vision of where they're going to be next, either getting away from pain or towards pleasure, as we all know. So if we can speak to that or allow them to speak to it, then we can find out if they're motivated. So I ask about their real estate plans, and then I ask, and they say, yeah, we're kind of thinking about it. Great, where are you thinking of going? And then they might answer a number of ways. You know, we're thinking of moving outside the city, or we're thinking of getting a bigger house or a smaller house, or, you know, staying in the area, whatever the deal is, right? But now you're talking about real estate and what their plans are. And then you follow up with questions from there. So usually I start with, what are your real estate plans?
That's the first thing you say, like, they to the door and say, hey.
No.
Are your real estate plans?
No, I'm
You
just
actually say it?
no, I'm just like, hi, I'm just looking for the homeowner. Is that you?
Okay.
And then you'll say yes, if you are. And then I'll say, great, my name's Austin. I'm just one of the real estate agents in your area. And I wanted to quickly check in on your real estate plans. And then I shut up. Because now it's their turn to talk. If I say too much after that, then I'm not supposed to be the one talking. It's supposed to be them.
Thought of a sub-point, language barriers.
Yeah, then I say it slower and louder. And in their accent. If it's an Italian person, all of a sudden I have an Italian accent. But it's called mirroring and matching. You want to replicate. You want them to feel like you're part of their tribe. So I'm exaggerating a little bit, but if they're speaking slowly, I'll speak slowly. If they're speaking really quick and they're rushed, I'm speaking really quick and I'm also rushed. You know what I'm saying? Good question. So homeowner. And then I'll introduce myself quickly. Some people spend way too much time talking about themselves before they get any interest whatsoever from the person that they're talking to. Like I used to, when I was selling water heaters, anyway, it happens in any sales business. People just talk too much. Salespeople talk way too much. It doesn't matter what you say, it matters what our goal is to find out their motivation. When I'm going to a door, my goal isn't to convert it to a lead, it's not to get an appointment, it's not to close a transaction, it's just to find out what their real estate motivations are. That's it. Because from there, I rarely, and it's happened before, because if you're out there enough, just all kinds of random things will happen, but you know, it's a couple times where I've signed a listing the same day that I've knocked on their door, but it's very rare. For the vast majority of time, it's many, many follow-up calls later. So I don't need to get all the information in the world. They don't need to agree to use me at the door. None of that matters. It's majority of the time going to happen through the follow-up process.
So, hi, I'm a local realtor, just curious of your real estate plans, and then look at you like, what do you mean?
Oh, yeah, I'm just wondering if you have any real estate plans this year. I'll just repeat myself in a different way. Yeah, I'm just wondering if you have any real estate plans. Are you planning on buying anything or selling your house or anything?
They're taking me out in a box.
They take me out in a box? Well, then you won't need me for a long time. By the way, we're, in that case, and then I've got a newsletter, so we talk about collaterals. I've got a newsletter. I'm like, in that case, I'm going to keep you updated with what's going on in the community every month. You'll get this in your mailbox. Proposals in the area, events, things like that. We'd love to see you out to some of those. And if you need anything, just give me a call. And I'm gone. My attitude's still intact. I wasn't trying to push somebody who's not interested in moving to move or dig deeper and try to get referrals. Like, not that there's anything wrong with asking for referrals. In fact, that's something I probably should be doing after. Even after I hand the newsletter, I can be like, oh yeah, by the way, do you know of anyone who is looking to move a lot sooner than you are? There's nothing wrong with that.
Sometimes they want you to get rid of somebody next door.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can throw in a joke. Anyone you want me to get rid of? Yeah, good point. Good point.
You
We do mail. We started doing that just this year. So I've been in the business almost 4 years now, and for the first time, we're spending money marketing to our community and to the people we have in our database as leads, as opposed to strictly following up with them by phone.
But that's once you've established the farm area.
Yeah. We established an area first, and then we are just honing in. So, I mean, to establish a farm area, I think somebody asked, and I think that's one of the points we have here. I actually don't have to flip it over every time. I can just kind of peek here. Yeah, choosing the farm, that's the next thing after follow-up process. But let's just stick to scripts for now. So what are your real estate plans? And then it's followed by a sequence of questions if they have any. If they don't have any, I'm just leaving on good terms. Because that's the person, and things change too. I just want to leave a good taste in everybody's mouth. And that's the same in any sales. Even if I wasn't farming, the idea would be to leave a good taste in everybody's mouth because it makes you feel better immediately. Much better than a negative interaction, obviously. And who knows what happens down the line.
Do you leave your card in that sense?
Yeah, and I leave a newsletter. We hand the newsletter, right? Because I want them to, when they see it in the mail now, I want them to recognize it and know that they've met me. Now they've got a better connection to that piece of junk mail that comes every month.
So you have your newsletter, you've got your cards, you have your phone, you have like a bag that you carry with you.
Yeah, well, really, I just have my phone, and then I might carry those, or I might have a little, man purse or something.
Okay.
Nothing complicated. You don't want too much stuff. You don't want to be like you're not a flyer delivery boy. You know what I mean? Like.
For door knocking.
What's that?
For door knocking.
For door knocking.
Just a clipboard, red paper, and cards or flyers with a pen. Make sure you have a pen.
Yeah, I mean, I use my phone. We have an app called Spotio, so you can actually pin the house and keep details of the interaction.
What's it called?
It's called Spotio, Spotio.
I find it's a little time consuming to do that with the pin all over the place and stuff like that.
Well, if it's townhouses, it's less accurate, for sure. But otherwise, it's pretty good. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's your database, so who cares? If it takes a bit more time, you're getting accurate information, and 2 years from now, you can, if you're knocking on that door again, you can see what the interaction was, it's pretty valuable. And on our team, we, once that lead's inputted, an administrator puts it into our database, puts the notes in there, and then sets tasks for us to follow up with them. So it all happens automatically. So I spend, an extra 10 seconds up front, but so many things happen. The wheels go in motion. I just tap a domino, and then it knocks over the whole set. And you have to follow up, so it's not automated completely, but a lot of the automated stuff, everybody's got, everyone on our team has different roles. We have a social media coordinator, we have an executive assistant, we have an operations manager, then we have the agents. We just hired a junior associate who's knocking doors for me in my community. So we have a division of labor so that everybody knows what they have to do once a lead comes in, and then but once that lead's put into the system, it just gets automated, and everyone gets the tasks that they need to do. So I didn't have that when I was brand new. We've just been building that over time, slowly. But before I had any of that, I knocked on doors for 3 months straight, didn't do any deals, got some listings, appointments, stuff like that, ended up doing 10 transactions in my 4th month. And then did 22 in my first year, 46 the next year, and then 46 again the year after that. Now I'm in my 4th year. But we stayed the same because we kept doing things the same way. We didn't adapt and change. So we added a marketing component. Now we're seeing our sales go up a lot.
In those first 3 months, did you have a farm area, or you just went out and started?
So it turns out I did, but I just didn't know that. As soon as my license came in the mail, the first door that I could reach with my arm, I knocked on, and then kept knocking the ones around it, and that was South Etobicoke, and I just kept doing it in South Etobicoke, and I was probably getting some momentum without really realizing it. And then I moved downtown, so I was just kind of all over the place, and I hired an ISA and tried following the ISA model with phone calling, but apparently that doesn't work, and I learned that in the States, where they have access to everybody's cell phone numbers and stuff, but here we don't. So when you're doing that model here, you're talking to much fewer people in a specific area. So you have to spread out a lot if you want to talk to a lot of people, which we had to. So our listings were all over the place. We were even going to Milton and stuff. And it was slowing us down because we weren't getting any momentum. If you have 6 listings that are scattered all over the GTA, as opposed to 6 in one community, the 6 in one community is going to get you a lot more action afterwards. It's going to build a lot more momentum, and it's going to make your job a lot easier. And we're just starting to feel that now. So for 3 years, it was just a grind, just grinding it out and having an amazing attitude and talking to as many people as possible and, honing the skills. Because the more people you talk to, the better you get at doing it. And if you're speaking with purpose and to actually accomplish something and go to the door with a specific, line of questioning to get to a certain point, which is to find out their motivation, then you can get really good at that if you do it a lot.
How many water heaters do you sell?
A lot.
If they ask you for a price or to come in, how do you handle that?
A price what? Before I come
If
in?
they ask you what the house would sell for
Oh.
on the spot. Or
Just
they-
say that's a great question. I'll come by and do an assessment. When's the best time for you?
Okay, so you don't.
Are you better in the
you don't-
afternoons or
you won't
evening?
do it then. You
No,
won't-
no.
You won't go in.
No, because here's the thing. Even if I book an appointment over the phone that I've been following up with them 10 times and they finally willing to meet with me type of thing, I'm not gonna, but say I'm going to an appointment, they aren't planning to sell right away. They just kind of want an assessment and to know the price. It's not that I won't go on that appointment, but I'm gonna make sure I know that it's that type of appointment. Then I'm gonna prepare them for the fact that I'm not actually gonna get into our marketing plan, our strategy and stuff like that. I'll just walk them through the process. I can give them an idea of what it's worth in today's market, but I'm gonna ask them not to hold me to that because that's gonna change by the time they're ready to sell. And I wanna make sure they know that because I don't wanna go and quote an $800,000 price and then in 6 months from now it's worth $900,000 and they're like, oh, well, he told me it was only $800,000, then 6 months later, all of a sudden it's $100,000 more because the agent gave them an updated CMA. So I'm going to make sure that they know that going into that appointment, and I need them to have a reason to meet with me again. So I'm not even going to get into the marketing plan and what we do and everything like that, and I'm going to make it clear that we're not going to get into that because I want them to have a reason to meet with me next time. Does that make sense? So at the door, definitely not, because that's just, I look like an idiot. What kind of a professional is going to come and give an assessment on their house that I don't know if they've done upgrades to and spent some time to. I don't know if they love and care it, and you know what I mean? There's going to be some factors that affect the value. And I want to make sure I'm showing them some comparables because they have to agree with me on, there's a whole strategy when it comes to pricing. We could do an entire class just around that to get the client on board with the way you're deciding to price it. And that's really by letting them decide how to price it because you're just showing them data that everybody has access to, including the buyer's agent, the buyers, and the banks that are going to be financing the house. So it's really just them deciding.
You just started out with door knocking and lead generation.
Yeah, that's all I did. So 10 deals 1 month, 4th month of being licensed, all from door knocking. Not one family member or friend or anything.
How did they all want to do it at the same time?
Yeah, well, somebody asked what the turnover, how long it takes from the time you meet a lead to, they told me it was about 3 months. And guess what? After 3 months of doing it, some of those turned into, it's just because I had so many. It's not like it's not like 10 or 12 people were looking to make a move and I just kept in touch with those 10 or 12 people. There's like hundreds of people who told me that they were thinking of making a move. And only 10 transactions. So I look at it as only 10. Somebody asked me that and they were like, our team leader was like, yeah, he just did 10 ends this month. And I'm like, yeah, is that good? Because I didn't know any better. I was just talking to as many people as I could. I mean, I knew it was good because it was like $135,000 in commission, and I had never made that much money in a month. So I knew it was pretty good, but.
What do you classify as a lead? What's a lead in your mind?
Somebody who is humming and hawing about selling.
So no time frame?
If they're in my community, I want them to see me more often if they are thinking about it. But yeah, if they're 5-10 years out, no. If they're like, yeah, it might be a couple years, I'll probably put them on an 8x8 and a 33 touch. I want to make sure they're getting the invitations to our events. I want to make sure that they're getting updates on what homes are selling for and stuff like that. Knowing that they might not end up doing anything, that's okay. If they're in my community, then I'm really focusing on the community that I'm serving. So, I'm not too stringent on what I call a lead anymore.
How many leads would it take to get an appointment, do you think?
We're starting to track that a lot better now. Like our operations manager, because we've got a bit more leverage on the back end, he's like his 20% is on tracking the numbers and analyzing them, and we're reviewing them once a week. I don't actually know it right now, to be honest. We just started doing this honing in on community thing at the beginning of the year, like January 1st was the first newsletter we sent out. So when I do this class next time, ask me again, okay? How are we doing for scripts? Let's just talk about what scripts you guys want to tackle. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about?
I wonder how much information you get with the recent, for maybe, 2 years. Do you get all the information at the door?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be like, okay, great. Well, in the meantime, we'll send you our newsletter. We'll update you on sale prices in the area. What's the best email address to send those to?
So it's just the email address you get?
Yeah, and then I'll be like, and what's the best phone number to reach you if I have something exciting to talk to you about?
You're going to ask them first if they even want stuff?
No, I'm just assuming the sale. So why wouldn't they want that? If they don't want it, they can say, no, I don't want to give you my email address. But so if you get one thing out of this class, you need to just talk to every single person as if you just sold the last 3 people, or as if the last 3 people just gave you their email address, and you have to talk to a lot of people. That's it. And then you're fine. Because if I talk to 3 people and they all say yes, like think about your attitude when you're going down the street and the first 3 people you talk to tell you to get the hell off their porch, and if you ever come around again, I'm going to sick my dog on you. 3 people in a row tell you that. You'd be like, damn, this is a bad street.
How do you note that?
How do I
you
note
not
that?
to Go back to that house.
You just go back.
I might put not interested on my app.
Okay.
But that, to me, because I've done this so much and I've had so many people be mean, that someone saying that to me at this point is just like, a nice young or old lady telling me that they're very thankful that I came by. They're just not looking to sell their house. It's the same. Emotionally, it's the same for me. But, most people, when they're going out and they get 3 people saying that to them in a row, they're a little bit deflated going to the 4th house. They're a little bit deflated in their body language, and they're a little bit deflated in their enthusiasm when they're speaking to the next person, because they're probably expecting that person to do the same thing. You've just had it 3 times in a row, so you're already prepared physiologically for that type of rejection. Whereas, if the first 3 people you talk to are all looking to sell their house and they want you to come over later today and sign the listing paperwork, what do you think your demeanor and your attitude and your enthusiasm level is going to the 4th house after that? It's very different. Sure, knock on.
That's right. I know, got your door, knock on.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Hi, oh, good, thanks. My name's Constance, I'm a local realtor. I focus on homes in the neighborhood. I do a monthly newsletter, comes by email. I was wondering if you'd like to have it.
See, when you ask somebody a yes/no question, if you ask somebody a yes/no question like that, 90% of the time, maybe more, they're inclined to say no. That's our default.
Right, so how can I?
Because nobody wants an extra email blast coming their way. How many emails do you have to cipher through every day that's complete crap that maybe at the time you're like, okay, I'll sign up for that, and now it's completely useless. So yeah, my answer to that's also no. So it's not because you're not, a great agent. It's not because you're not enthusiastic. It's just because if I have a choice between yes and no on giving my email address, I'm taking no.
So would you just say, oh, can I have your email?
No, don't ask if you can.
The question that he was asking, that we didn't ask them anything other than about their email and their information. We didn't ask about your real estate plans. So you went into who you were and what you could send them. You didn't ask about them. And it's about them.
You have to present some value. So why would they want that email address? Or sorry, why would they want that newsletter?
We talked about home sales in the neighborhood.
Okay. What else does it do?
For value to them.
Yeah,
Guess you might want to call in and use.
that's value for you. What's the value for them?
Events in the area too.
Yeah, okay.
General market info?
Yeah, so home sales, market info,
General tips for homeowners?
general tips, okay. Yeah, that's what we do, Sean. Thank you. Yeah, things that have been approved in the area. People drive by these signs that say what's going in their neighborhood or houses or whatever. They'd be interested in reading about what the hell's going to happen there.
Our newsletter, I'm on the trust team, and we have analytics on our newsletters, and so far I've sent out like 5 months, 4 months, sorry. But I stopped doing the extra stuff because nobody read it or clicked on any of that. The events, anything
Okay, well, have the other stuff because you don't know, like there has to be some more content. And we, we keep ours extremely local, so development proposals that have been approved in the area, people generally like to know about that. But yeah, if you're measuring your click rate, but I mean, you got to replace it with something of value. So you got to think of something else that's good there. And if you at least are able to say this at the door, like, hey, listen, I'm just coming by. I'm a local agent, just like I'm just kind of going off your script. I'm a local agent, and I focus on house sales in this area. And we have a newsletter. It's got information about development proposals in the area, home sales that have happened, general tips about maintaining your house and stuff like that. What would be the best email address for me to send you that content? And then I'm assuming that they're going to give it to me because the last 3 people just gave it to me. And that's coming through in my attitude and my demeanor and my physiology because I'm assuming that they're going to give it to me. See, just don't forget, only 7% of communication's words. The rest is through body language and tone of voice. So if my tone of voice and my body language is telling them that other people are giving that to me, they want to do that as well because people want to do what other people are doing. It's the same reason why you don't go to the restaurant with nobody sitting in it, you go to the one with the lineup outside the door. Because you know that the people who aren't in that restaurant know something that you don't know. And you know that the people who are in that restaurant know something that you don't know. And you don't want to find out the former the hard way. So people don't want to work with the guy, don't want to give the email address to the person who's not getting any email addresses. And the only way they know if other people are giving you their email addresses is by the way you're responding to the way you're speaking. So that's why that works. Does that help? Mm-hmm. You have to give them value. You have to give them a reason to want to give it to you and then assume that they're going to give it to you because it's so valuable to them. And I tell the people on my team, like I'm training somebody brand new, no sales experience or anything like that, but she's a rock star and has other areas in her life that we took her through the KPA process for those of you who have looked at career visioning. Scores really high on the team leaders and the different leadership positions and stuff like that. But I'm teaching her everything from like the beginning, and I'm remembering some of the stuff that you forget about when you're not as immersed in that type of a role. And just the basics. It's like you give them a piece of value, and then you assume the sale, and like that stuff works. But it takes practice. Like it's not going to feel natural, and you're still going to be a little bit hesitant when you're asking what the best email address is, as opposed to can I send you an email? What's the best email? You should write that down if you're planning to use this. It's a very, similar words, but very different meaning.
Should never use the word
Yeah. Can I?
can. Don't use the word can.
Yeah.
Because the answer is going to be 100%.
Yeah, Sean worked with me selling water heaters for over a year, and then he came onto real estate and was crushing it on the phones, and now he's a licensed agent as of the beginning of the year, and continuing the role and being an agent. So it's like a transition. But the skills you develop at the door, and that's why I recommend, especially if you're new or if you're not new and you just want a bigger business and to get more regular transactions and stuff like that, is to do this because you get really good at it. If for no other reason, then it's just to get really good at the scripts because you're using them every day. And instead of floating around and using the same stuff that doesn't work, focus on what works. And the stuff that I'm just mentioning now is what works. People are much more likely to give you what you want if you give them something for it and then assume that they're going to give you what you need so that you can give them that value. So I think we beat that to death unless anyone has any other scripts that they'd like to talk about.
Some seniors don't have email.
That's very true.
How do you stay connected?
What's the best phone number for each?
Yeah, the only thing you can do is call them and go back to their house and send them stuff.
That's the other thing.
You just can't email them. Anything that you would do with email, you just can't do.
Well, you also said you're doing a paper newsletter, so you can send, if you have the means of, whether they're email or.
Most of the time, they're not the decision makers anyway. So I would ask, okay, great. Do your kids live in the area or anything like that? You can, if you really want to keep in touch and they're really hot lead or something like that, I'd want to get in touch with the decision makers. Do you have anyone helping you with, if they're like, yeah, I'm looking to sell like as soon as possible, I'd be like, great. Do you have anybody helping you with that right now? It's just an open-ended question. Anybody helping you? That could be an agent, could be their kids, whatever. They can answer that however they want.
I'll follow up with you. Are you 647 or 416? I use that. It works all the time.
Yeah, you want their phone number? Start it off with them because what's he telling them by doing it that way? that everybody else is giving them their phone number.
You're gonna give me one or the other.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
Yeah, yes or yes.
Okay, perfect. We'll follow up with you. Are you 647 or the 416?
It's a yes or a yes option.
And then
As opposed to can I have your phone number, which is a yes or no option, you're giving them a yes or a yes.
So you're on the phone? I do that at the door.
If you're on the phone.
If I'm on the phone, I have the number. No, I meant, sorry, I was just saying, because you mentioned he's on the phone and you.
He's on our team, so we were doing the phone calls, but now we're targeting neighborhoods specifically.
Right.
So we know that there's about 3,000 houses, and we need to talk to every single person in that community. That's one of the goals. Talk to every single person. So yeah, you have to go over them more than once.
And you've been more successful, obviously, with door knocking than phone call.
Yeah, I haven't measured it, which we will know more soon, but we're strictly door knocking, and the only thing we do on the phones now is follow up.
Okay.
Yeah, 289.
Yeah, then they'll be like, no, it's actually 289. Then you're like, oh, okay. It's a good problem to have.
Mostly older people to be 416 anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good point. They've had the line for a long time. All right, let's just move right along then. How are we doing for time? 3:15. Oh, we've been having so much fun because we only have till 3:30. So we've been having so much fun. We're gonna have to. I know. Well, you can put it on slow mo when you repeat it. Anyway, so collateral, we've been talking about that. So we've actually covered some of the points. Collateral, we talked about. So a newsletter is a really good thing if you're farming. If you're not, then I don't know. You tell me. Maybe that's. I'm not a marketing expert, so I might not be the right person for this
The one
class.
thing I'll say is don't wait till you get that perfect marketing piece.
Yeah.
Just do it. You don't need, your business card will suffice as well in your attitude. So don't feel you need that collateral.
Yeah, when I was new for the first 3 or 4 years, so leading up to like this year, we only I literally when I was brand new printed business cards from my computer, and then brought out a clipboard with a blank piece of paper and just started knocking on doors. I didn't have a website. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a notepad or anyway. So yeah, you don't. It's not really important. Conversion timeline. We talked about that too. It's about 3 months. You're doing it every day. You'll start to get consistent. If you're doing it consistently every day for a few months, you'll start to get a ton of transactions. If you're doing it well.
How many hours do you spend a day?
Well, when I was brand new, since I didn't have anything else to do, because if you don't have clients, what are you doing? So I needed to find clients. And I knew, because I had read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that if I found 6 leads a day, that would turn into 1 listing or 1 sale a year. So my leads weren't very good quality. I wasn't nurturing them properly. I was only following up with them by phone. I didn't have a mailing campaign. I didn't have newsletters or anything like that. So I didn't convert as many as that, but I was going for 6 at least a day. 6 people who were kind of thinking about selling their house or buying a house. I tried to get an email and a phone number, and I was able to get that because I already knew this stuff because I had been prospecting. It's like this selling water heaters and getting email addresses and phone numbers is the same skill set. It transferred over very nicely. So some people need to get their experience in real estate, going door to door doing that. I happened to get mine before I got into real estate. But I mean, as long as you get it, because that applies to everything. So once you get really good at the language of talking to people at the door and getting lead, and if you can turn that lead into an appointment, your skills are already in a really good place to close that appointment. Because it's along the same lines of the conversation, or it's variations, and you're talking about different things, but you're using the same tools. You're using the same implications that they're going to work with you and things like that. So those skills transfer to every part of this. And then even to building a team, which we can talk about in another course. Because we don't have time today. We'll talk about escapes quickly. So we've got a lot of time sucks out there. And for every minute you spend with somebody who's not interested in doing anything, but very interested in having a conversation with you, for whatever the reason is, maybe they don't have a lot of people coming by, which is kind of sad too. We're actually helping Franklin Horner Community Center, so if you guys know of seniors, let us know, because we want to get them out to more activities like card nights and potluck dinners and things like that. So anyway, we can talk about that later.
The reason I mentioned that was because I was door knocking this morning, and I had a stay-at-home dad who took and then I asked him if he had an agent. He said, "Oh yeah, my sister." You know, so then like 20 minutes later, and I do the whole thing from all the transactions he's ever done in real estate. So, that's really weird.
Yeah, so if you can get that, I mean, it totally depends on how the conversation's going and stuff like that, but I've usually got, and I can't think of them off the top of my head, I just, when I feel that there's an exit, I'll just kind of give a line like, well, listen, it was amazing talking to you. By the way, do you have anybody helping you with all this right now? You know what I mean? I might throw that in as early as possible.
I even got his email.
Okay, well, if he has another agent, then I mean.
I know, but like really, I thought it was really good to go when I asked that question, right?
Bring the question up earlier.
Well, this is it, you know.
I had it last week as well.
Yeah.
It was like, great.
Maybe can somebody check Facebook Live, see if there's any comments about, if I'm assuming at least one person watched it on there, but maybe they had a question about.
I don't know how to check it.
Okay, well, let's focus on us then. So escapes are, usually I would just have to get a feel for the way the conversation's going.
I guess what I actually ended up doing was closing my book. That was it, and I said,
yeah, I mean, like we've all been interacting in the real world for a long time. So like anytime you're in a conversation with somebody in any aspect of your life, you have to figure out ways to get out of it. So yeah. I kind of just apply those, and if you do it more often, then you just kind of get better at it, I guess. I'm not as useful with this as I am with some scripts and stuff like that, because it's not something I actually spend tons of time thinking about. I just find outs and take them, and then I'm out of there, and I don't think about it ever again. And I just move on to the next person.
You gotta wait for that pause. As soon as there's that pause, that's your exit.
Yeah, you look for exits, you look for pauses. But anybody have questions about any of the stuff that we've talked about?
So just going back to the time though, you said that like so 6 leads, it would be the time that you would go home.
Yeah, so 5 to 7 hours a day when I was brand new with my license.
And now?
Oh, and now I've just recently, when we started focusing again on the communities, like I stopped door knocking because there's 2 or 3 of us, or 2 or 3 people on our team who were prospecting and generating leads, and they didn't have their license. So all those leads I was servicing, so I was following up with all those, so we didn't need to go door knocking, and my role was just following up. But we changed the strategy because our sales flatlined, like we did the same amount in year 3 as year 2, so we had to do something different, and that was focusing on communities. So then we started door knocking, and I was door knocking just to make sure that I knew what was going on out there. I like to keep my finger on the pulse out there, and I wanted to make sure that our new initiative, which was honing in on these communities and supporting with marketing and everything, was actually going to work. I mean, I knew it would. I just wanted to, work out any kinks, and I knew that I would replace myself with a junior associate who goes out knocking doors now. So we just hired her. She's been on for a couple weeks, and so I'm not spending any time out door knocking. But I would recommend at least 3 to 4 hours. I would recommend at least 3 to 4 hours. My associate, she'd be spending 5-6 hours because that's her only job. But if I were you, no matter how long you've been in the business, until you find somebody to replace you doing it, then you should be doing it 3 to 4 hours a day. That should be your one thing. Because without those leads, without that business, what are you doing?
In the morning you do it? First thing
Yeah, get it over with. Especially if you don't like doing it. Like I'm at the point where if I don't do it in the morning for whatever reason, or if I wasn't doing it in the morning, I could make up for it later because it was just so habitual, and I actually started, after a while you kind of get weird and enjoy doing it. So it wasn't a thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, 3 to 4 hours until you can replace yourself with somebody else to do it. And you're not really qualified to replace yourself and teach somebody else how to do it if you can't do it well yourself.
Is there a favorite time of day you found with your experience?
When people are home.
They're home all the time. I mean, not everyone's home all the time, but sometimes people are home because they're sick, sometimes they're on maternity leave, sometimes they work shift work, sometimes, that's one of the things that I didn't talk about at the beginning that are things that can be obstacles in your own head, especially if you knock on 10 doors in a row and nobody's home, then you're like, oh, I'm out at the wrong time of day.
Doesn't it make sense?
And then you go home and pack it up.
Doesn't it make more sense, though, if there'd be more people home between 4 and 6:30?
Yeah, probably. But not everybody conforms to that schedule. Some people are out at their activities at that time. Some people are not getting home from work until after that time. And then you can make an excuse why 6:30 to 7 is not good because everyone's having dinner. So you can make excuses why every time of day isn't good. But the point is that I got all my leads in the morning and early afternoon, and they were home. I didn't get any leads from the people that weren't home, so I wasn't spending any time thinking about the people that weren't home. You know what I mean? So yeah, you might be right. Maybe instead of 28% of people being home, there's 33%. but as long as you're doing it. In fact, they did stats at the company I worked at because they tracked when a work order number came in. So when we got a sale, when somebody signed up for a water heater, we would call it in and they'd verify everything, make sure that we didn't scam them and all that stuff. And once that call finished and it was verified, then they'd get a work order number. So they tracked the date and time and location and all those different stats of when those work orders and where they came from. And they found that it was a straight line right across the time of day. From 11 a.m. to about 8 p.m., it was a flat line. The work order numbers came in at the same time, or the same amount of work order numbers came in at every time of day. So it wasn't about the time of day, it was about how motivated the salespeople were. If you're motivated, you'll find people who are thinking of selling their house at any time of day. We should end on that note. See ya. Just kidding. Sorry, you had a question?
I was going to say, so if you went in the morning, for instance, and a lot of people were at home, would you go back at another time to the same area or not?
Yeah, if I had time, or the next time I go around, or yeah. I mean, we track everyone who was home, who wasn't home, if they're lead or not. So when I'm going back over, I might go to a new street the next day. It doesn't actually really matter. If I'm going to go over that street again, I might be going with something else to say, a new event to invite them to, or a new open house. You can go around open, like there's different scripts. If you're inviting them to an open house, it's like, hey, listen, just wanted to come by quickly because we're hosting an open house around the corner. So you're establishing yourself as an agent who sells houses in the area. So that's kind of what you're telling them. And we were hoping to get your opinion on how we've priced it and staged it. Do you think you have time to come by on Saturday?
Sure.
Okay, and if you say no, it's okay, great. I'll send you the details anyway. If you can make it, come on by. What's the best email address? Or if you do say yes, okay, great, I'll send you the details. What's the best email address? As soon as they give a yes or a no, okay, great, what's the best email address?
And the tracking, what do you use to track?
Spotio, S-P-O-T-I-O. It's an app. Or you can just use a piece of paper, or you can use the Notes app on your phone, and then you can forward that to your email or whatever, forward it to your assistant, whatever you want to do to put it in the database. The key thing is that you do store it, and that you do keep that information, and that you do something with it over time, which is follow up with them. But with the person for the open house, then you get an excuse to follow up with them. Hey, we sold this house for this much money. By the way, do you know anybody who's looking to sell their house and get a ton of money for their house? You know what I mean? It gives you an excuse to follow up with them after. Not just about their real estate plans necessarily, but about how successfully you sold that house. And guess what? People want to work with people other people are working with. So that again reinforces that. We're out of time, guys, except for Rick's question. One more.
I